It is time for Across Africa. We want to spend a few minutes giving you an update on some stories that are trending in Africa, from shea butter to miniskirts. How about that? Back again is U.S. journalist Frankie Edozian, who follows stories out of Africa. Frankie is also the contributor to the International Herald Tribune, the global edition of the New York Times. Always good to see you, Frankie.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got two words for you.
Yes.
Shea butter.
Shea butter is wonderful. So while all of these people are in Cape Town during the World Economic Forum, a group of women who actually grow and pick shea butter are coming to New York City. What are they coming here for on Monday? They're coming here to tell people shea butter is good for you. It's good for your skin, but it's also good for you to use as a cocoa butter substitute in candy. So almond joys, Kit Kat bars, all kinds of foods use shea butter. And so these women are coming and they're saying, hey, business people, allow us to have fair trade, not aid. Work with us. We're going to pick the shea nuts, which is spread across 16 countries around Africa. Just below the Sahel region, it's a very dry, arid place. But these women, they spend all day picking these nuts, and then these nuts are like ground into this yellow, buttery substance, which then does wonders for your skin. The Body Shop has been using shea butter for its body butter for a long time, as well as Juvederm and L'Oreal. So they're all coming here saying to us, hey, use shea butter, but also let's have a partnership with the food industry so we can have more of healthy shea in our foods as well.
And we've seen similar efforts in other industries, particularly in the coffee industries. And you often sometimes see a label that indicates that these beans were picked from fair trade.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm wondering, is that also what they're looking for, to
Yeah,
have that
absolutely.
kind of recognition?
They have instituted a trace mechanism so that if you pick shea, we can know where the country was actually picked from, and actually even down to the mechanism of which village it was picked and where it was picked. Now, all of this has been going on for 4 years with something called the West Africa Trade Hub, which is funded by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. And 4 years ago, when President Obama came into power, one of the things they wanted to do with international diplomacy was to change the way they interacted with Africa. And one of the things Secretary Clinton did was to talk about trade and empower the trade hubs. So this shea industry, this global shea alliance, which has come out of this, has been one of the success stories of the West Africa Trade Hub. So not only are these women coming to New York on Monday, but also all of these great industries like L'Oreal and Juvederm and the Body Shop, as well as all the people who make candy, are also coming to have this great big confab on Monday.
That's fantastic. And this is big business. Shea butter is big business.
This is huge business. In the last year or so, there were 30 million exports out of one country, I think Ghana alone. So across the 16 countries, we're talking 16 countries where shea butter is picked and where the Global Alliance is, at least $90 million in exports to the United States alone. So that is actually one really special thing about shea butter. The other thing to mention is that when you are buying candy and when you are buying food, if you flip it and you see there is shea, you will now realize that you're actually helping some women empower themselves.
I love that.
So think about that when you shop for candy.
And we'll be
Flip
right
it
here.
over. If there's shea, you might be helping people like feed their families.
We'll keep our eye out for it. Okay, so from one women's issue to another one, I don't know if this is women's empowerment. It might be a little bit of oppression. Uganda is trying to ban miniskirts. What is this about, Frank?
Oh, yes. Okay, so there is a pornography problem in Kampala right now, as I've been told. And the ethics minister has proposed banning clothing that will entice men to do bad things to women. It smacks of sort of like blaming the victim again. But what is really interesting is that there's an actual bill that says if you wear a miniskirt, we will arrest you. And so,
Really?
yes, but what is interesting about this is that in Uganda, very often when bills pass and there's international outrage, it's usually outrage from the outside. Now Ugandan women are saying, we don't want this anymore. This smacks back to the time of Idi Amin where you can't tell us what to wear. What's so interesting about what this minister, Simon Lokoto, has said is that it's okay for a man to be on the beach shirtless because men usually aren't the objects of attraction, but women with miniskirts are. So people in Kampala are not very happy. Women are not very happy. But one plus-size model from Kampala, who's now working in Canada, has begun a Save the Miniskirt campaign.
Good for her. Yeah, and before I roll my eyes and say, this is a double standard and absolutely ridiculous, well, what are the statistics there in terms of violence against women? Not to legitimize this law, but I imagine it does speak to a bigger issue.
It does speak to a bigger issue. I think the bigger issue for them in Kampala is that they have been a rash of incidents involving children. This is actually what sparked the so-called Kill the Gays bill in 2009, which hasn't really gone anywhere. It's still sort of being debated, but got a lot of outrage because they felt like a lot of people have taken advantage of young children. Now, in Uganda, it's really, really hard to know exactly what the numbers are because once you have a case, it's sort of like, it's in the media a lot, but there's usually not enough data to say, well, this is a trend. We know that there was an incident with a foreigner recently, and there was no real law to charge him under the books, so he paid a fine and he had to be rearrested. And so this is sort of like an effort to sort of like find something to sort of like drive this moral
And it does sound a little odd that something that's intended to protect women could actually result in getting them arrested if they wear a mini skirt.
Well, the issue for many, many people in Uganda is that they have the internet. They can see porn if they want, but they also see the way people in industrialized countries go out and dance. And if they feel like, we want to go out and wear a miniskirt at night, they feel like they're okay with that, and they feel like it's sort of like an attack on the victim rather than an attack on the problem.
Very, very interesting. Well, let's go to something that's serious as well, but something that's also serious. There was a bombing in Tanzania.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, and someone very important was there.
So, in Arusha is this wonderful city which is the gateway to Mount Kilimanjaro. It gets a lot of tourists, a lot of people traveling to the mountain pass through there. And over the weekend, there was a brand new Roman Catholic church, and it had the Pope's envoy there, it had the vice president. There were so many people there, and a bomb went off. 2 people were killed, 60 people were injured. Why this is important is because a few days later, 4 Saudi nationals and 4 Tanzanians were arrested. Tanzania has had issues with Al-Qaeda terrorism, and people are beginning to wonder if this is sort of like going back to 1998 when there were the U.S. Embassy bombings in Dar es Salaam and in Nairobi. Of the last 12 months or so, there have been all kinds of sectarian violence. Small things, but people are saying, is Tanzania becoming a hotbed again? Is Al-Qaeda trying to come back into Tanzania? Last month, there was a Roman Catholic priest who was shot in the very popular island of Zanzibar, which a lot of people go to. There was also an incident where a Muslim cleric was arrested for inciting violence because he thought a young man defiled the Quran. We don't know if this is true, but there was a rumor that he might have taken a pee
So it's a
on that.
place to keep an eye on and watch.
It really, really is, because Tanzania for the last few years has been a very, very stable place. A good economic partner with the United States. Lots of tourism, lots of business over there. So to have all of this flare-ups of sectarian violence, which could be Al-Qaeda, we are not sure for now because no one has taken responsibility yet. Even the people who were arrested aren't saying who they're with. So we don't quite know for sure.
That's interesting, because usually Al-Qaeda will take responsibility. If it's
Very
them,
quickly.
so, yeah.
They like to clap and say, here's what we've done.
What we did, exactly. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll keep our eye on that. Now, in stark contrast to Uganda, it seems that Egypt, which is predominantly a Muslim country,
Yes.
is okay with short skirts and anything else.
Well, yes. So, 2 years ago when there were the uprisings that got rid of President Hosni Mubarak, and we had a new government in Egypt, which is led by President Morsi of the Muslim Brotherhood. A consequence of these uprisings is that tourism has come down in Egypt. There are very, very few, much fewer visitors. There are 15 million visitors, almost 15 million visitors in 2010. Since the uprising, a lot of that has gone down. And some of the reason is because some people feel like the Muslim Brotherhood, they tried to put a ban in place on alcohol. And that received a lot of pushback. So the Minister of Tourism went to Dubai, and he told a gathering of tourism officials and reporters that bikinis are welcome in Egypt, and booze is still being served. Welcome.
Okay.
And booze is still being served on the beaches. So you can go to Egypt and go to Sharm el Sheikh and, put your bikini on and order a Cosmo, and, they want tourists to come.
And bring your money.
And bring your money.
Exactly. That's really what that's
And
about.
you know how he's going to prove this? By actually having cameras on the beach, which will live stream into their website. And the next phase, he says that he wants to have those live streaming come in places like Times Square and in Paris, so the whole world can see that bikinis and booze are welcome in Egypt.
That is the headline. Frankie Dozier, it's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
All right, get your booze and bikini ready.
We're going to Egypt.
Okay. This is Arise America.